A very good morning and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Well, OROP suicide row is our top focus. Now, politics has broken out over the issue and Rahul Gandhi and Arvind Kejriwal will be attending the funeral of the army veteran. Well, we'll get you all the details on that big story, that and much more in this bulletin in the next half an hour. Let us begin with the headlines. India summons Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan lodges strong protest against repeated ceasefire violations. 3 civilians injured in fresh Pakistani shelling. Pakistan recalls the 6 diplomats from its High Commission in Delhi over the espionage ring case. India expected to withdraw 8 of its officials from Islamabad. Massive political fight over suicide of ex-servicemen allegedly over OROP. Congress and AAP demand Prime Minister's apology. Claim government yet to implement promise to soldiers. And President Pranab Mukherjee says the terrorism biggest threat to peace and security. Nepal concurs, says no country should allow its soil to be used against the other. The big story this morning, a political fight has broken out over the suicide of an ex-serviceman allegedly over the one rank, one pension scheme. Now, Wednesday saw detention of Congress and AAP leaders through the day, while the BJP called for an investigation into the real cause of the former soldier's death. The Congress and AAP sought an apology from the Prime Minister for failing to implement the promises made to the armed forces.
70-year-old ex-serviceman Ramkishan Grewal allegedly consumed poison, leaving behind a suicide note blaming the government's delay in implementing of the one rank, one pension scheme. The tragedy at Jantar Mantar in Delhi triggered a political row, with the Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi being detained twice and later released on Wednesday evening as he tried to meet the family of the deceased.
इस परिवार ने कुर्बानी दी और इसके साथ आज जो हुआ है वो बिल्कुल गलत हुआ है और कम से कम सरकार को इस व्यक्ति के परिवार से माफी मांगनी चाहिए, कहना चाहिए कि भैया हमारी गलती हो गई, हमने आपको कष्ट दिया, कम से कम ये करना चाहिए। देखिए, ये तरीका नहीं है, लोगों को अरेस्ट करना, बंद करना, अस्पताल को बंद करना, ये तरीका नहीं है।
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his deputy Manish Sisodia were also detained and later released. Kejriwal was detained for 4 hours and Sisodia for close to 10 hours.
एक सैनिक ने आत्महत्या की, एक तरह से सरकार को आत्महत्या क्यों की उसके कारणों में जाना चाहिए था। उन्होंने कहा भी ओआरओपी लागू नहीं हुआ, सरकार को कहना चाहिए था भाई अब करेंगे ओआरओपी लागू। प्रधानमंत्री जी पूरे देश में जा जाके झूठ बोल रहे हैं हमने ओआरओपी लागू कर दिया, अब तो उनकी झूठ निकल गई, एक सैनिक ने आत्महत्या कर ली, अब भी सुधर जाओ कम से कम।
The detention drama also saw 12 family members of the deceased, including the son of Ramkishan Grewal, being detained.
ये हॉस्पिटल है, कोई डेमोन्स्ट्रेशन करने का प्लेस नहीं है। यहाँ पेशेंट्स आते हैं ट्रीटमेंट के लिए और एक इमरजेंसी एक प्लेस है जो कि कंटीजेंसी हो सकती है, कोई भी यहाँ पे आ सकता है और उसके ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन हम किसी तरह के अलाउ नहीं करेंगे। फैमिली मेंबर्स को एडवांस में बता दिया था कि जो उनका सारा पोस्टमार्टम लेडी हार्डिंग मेडिकल कॉलेज में होगा, यहाँ पर नहीं होगा। उसके बावजूद फैमिली मेंबर्स ने पुलिस की एडवाइस नहीं सुनी और यहाँ पर आरएमएल हॉस्पिटल में इकट्ठे हो गए और लीडर से कांटेक्ट करने लगे।
मुझे कुछ नहीं कहना है।
आरोप लगाए जा रहे हैं कि पुलिस का गलत इस्तेमाल हो रहा है।
उस रिस्क रिडक्शन के लिए जो कुछ भी करना होगा यहाँ की ये पुलिस करेगी।
Forensic experts conducted Grewal's post-mortem and the report is with the Lady Harding Hospital. According to the police, Grewal wrote his suicide note on a document which he wanted to submit to the Defence Ministry. He wrote he was sacrificing his life for his country and his motherland and for his brave fellow Jawans. As the political fight over the suicide peaked, the BJP called for an investigation into the suicide.
आत्महत्या उसने की है, उसका क्या कारण है किसी को नहीं पता। कारण आरोपी दिखाया जा रहा है, उसकी मानसिक स्थिति क्या थी हमको नहीं पता किसी को भी। पहले उसकी तहकीकात तो होने दीजिए और जहां तक मैंने आपको बताया कि आरोपी को राजनीति से परे रखा जाए तो ज्यादा अच्छा है।
Ex soldier has been trying to meet the defense minister for the last few days and ultimately he was frustrated and he had to finally commit suicide. Suicide is only because of this present government. He was in perfect state, and whosoever claims that this soldier was not in good state of mental state of affairs. I think that person should be taken to hospital for checkup.
West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee also tweeted her support for Rahul Gandhi and Kejriwal. PTI is quoting Defence Ministry sources as saying that Grewal was one of the recipients of the benefits under the revised pension scheme. The report also quotes the source as saying that he received a lesser amount as part of the OROP scheme under the 6th Pay Commission due to an error in calculation by the bank in Bhiwani district of Haryana, a matter which was being looked into. Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar is reported to have asked for details about the incident. The Modi government announced a one rank one pension scheme on September 6, 2015. But since then, ex-servicemen have complained that it failed to address their concerns. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, on to the other big story. Well, India on Wednesday summoned a Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan, Syed Haider Shah, and launched a strong protest against repeated ceasefire violations by Pakistan along the border in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, India also registered its strong protest on the mutilation of the body of an Indian soldier by the terrorists who escaped across the line of control after committing the heinous crime. Now, External Affairs Ministry said continued ceasefire violations have resulted into several casualties on the Indian side among civilians and security forces personnel. The Pakistani diplomat was also conveyed that India expects Islamabad not to take any step which is inimical to peace along the LOC and international border and to the security of India. Now, India's strong message came as Pakistan continued to violate ceasefire. Pakistani Rangers resorted to heavy mortar shelling in Mendhar sector of Poonch district along the line of control in Jammu. 3 civilians have been injured in the latest incident. The BSF has said that Pakistan border guarding force with the active connivance of its army have resorted to heavy mortar shelling deliberately towards Indian civilian areas along the international border in Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar and Army Chief General Dalbir Singh reviewed the overall security situation in Kashmir. The two visited the frontline areas of Uri in Baramulla district. Parrikar also interacted with the troops deployed in the forward areas in North Kashmir. He asked soldiers to remain in a very high state of alert to give a befitting reply to the misadventure coming from across the line of control. In the national capital, Home Minister Rajnath Singh also said that the central government will do everything possible to counter the shelling and do the needful to protect the honour of the country.
For residents living in border areas, it's been raining bombs and bullets as Pakistani Rangers continue to target civilian hamlets along the line of control and the international border in Jammu and Kashmir. More than 400 villages were evacuated on Wednesday, a day after at least 8 civilians were killed in heavy firing by Pakistan. Several schools also remained closed. Villagers say they seem to be caught in a war between the two sides.
बार बार फायरिंग होती है और स्कूल बंद किए जाते हैं और हमारे बच्चों की पढ़ाई बहुत वेस्ट हो रही है, इसलिए सरकार को हमारे लिए कुछ सोचना चाहिए।
हमें बहुत फिक्र है कि हमारे बच्चों की पढ़ाई बर्बाद हो रही है और पाकिस्तान बहुत फायर कर रहा है, तो उसकी वजह ना बड़ा नुकसान भी होवेदा है, तो उसकी वजह ना हमारे बच्चों का जो स्कूल है बंद किया गया है।
Retaliating forcefully, the Indian troops destroyed more than a dozen posts of Pakistani Rangers. The BSF made it clear that unlike the Pakistani firing, their response was measured and did not target civilians.
Indian retaliation, the BSF which made was very accurate and measured. Our accurate firing and the coordinate fire assault on various posts has resulted into very heavy damage to their number of posts.
The civilian deaths on the Indian side, however, triggered a huge outcry in the political circle. Opposition leaders are demanding answers from the government on the worsening border situation.
जो बॉर्डर पे मर रहे हैं, पाकिस्तान तो दोषी है ही है, वो तो मुजरिम है, उसमें कोई शक नहीं है। लेकिन क्या वजह है कि हमारे वक्त में जब यूपीए थी तो इतना सीज फायर वायलेशन नहीं होता था? क्या वक्त है कि ये जो आज रोज़ हमारा एक फौजी शहीद होता है तो उस वक्त नहीं होता है? तो कहीं कहीं मतलब यह है कि एनडीए बातें ज़्यादा करती है और ग्राउंड पे काम नहीं करती है.
And civilian deaths are something that we cannot accept. And villages have been evacuated, schools now have been closed. So I think the result of all these has been that there is greater uncertainty and tensions across the border. Now this is something that has to be resolved at the earliest in the interest of our own people.
या तो हमारी आंतरिक सुरक्षा को इतना मजबूत किया जाए कि ये घटना इस तरह से ना हो, लेकिन मैं ये मानता हूं कि दोनों तरफ जो सिर्फ यानी तनाव की बातें हो रही, एक रास्ता ये भी है कि दोनों के बीच में बातचीत भी होना चाहिए.
Apart from the heightened tensions on the border, the rest of the valley also remains under lockdown. The shutdown by the separatists derailed normal life for the 117th day on Wednesday. Restrictions on the assembly of people remained in place throughout the valley. Additional forces were deployed at vulnerable spots and main roads as a precautionary measure to maintain law and order. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Pakistan on Wednesday recalled 6 diplomats from its High Commission in Delhi after India made their names public on the basis of interrogation of Pakistani High Commission official Mahmood Akhtar. Now, all the 6 are accused of espionage and spying against India. In a tit-for-tat action, Pakistan charged 2 Indian diplomats, Rajesh Agnihotri and Balbir Singh, with spying in Pakistan. Now, India is withdrawing 8 of its High Commission officials from Pakistan. Now, they were named by the Pakistani media as being accused of espionage. Last week, India ordered Pakistani staffer Mahmood Akhtar to leave, and reciprocating the order, Pakistan had expelled Surjit Singh, an Indian staffer in Indian High Commission in Islamabad. Moving on to the other big story, well, President Pranab Mukherjee, who is in Nepal on a 3-day visit, held talks with his Nepalese counterpart, Vidya Devi Bhandari, to strengthen Indo-Nepal relations that had been strained over the issue of promulgation of the new constitution. Well, the visit is significant as it is the first state visit from India after the month-long blockade for greater political space for the Madheshis of Nepal's plains. Marking a historic visit to neighbouring Nepal, President Pranab Mukherjee arrived in Kathmandu on Wednesday for a 3-day visit. He was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the airport and was received by his Nepalese counterpart, President Vidya Devi Bhandari. The President went on to hold one-on-one meetings with the President and Vice President of Nepal. Nepalese Vice President Nanda Bahadur Puan expressed Nepal's keenness to develop water connectivity with India through Kosi and Ganga rivers, which will connect the Himalayan nation with ports in West Bengal. After the 2015 earthquake that caused havoc in Nepal, India was the first and largest responder. India has committed to rebuild 50,000 homes, which President Pranab Mukherjee reiterated during the state dinner.
India remains committed to help as required and will support the government and people of Nepal in reconstruction of their homes and their lives.
We have a commitment from Indian side to support the reconstruction of 50,000 houses. So the fact that this government in Nepal has started that process, the payments have started to be made to beneficiaries, and the whole housing reconstruction has started, was viewed very positively.
President Pranab Mukherjee during the state dinner said that terrorism poses the most serious threat to the world's peace and security. He also urged the international community to work together to eradicate the menace. Nepal Foreign Minister Prakash Saran Mahat also agreed that no country should allow its territory to be used against another country and condemned all forms of terrorism.
Terrorism today poses the most serious threat to our peace and security. The international community will need to work together. We will need to foster tolerance and understanding in all sections and eradicate the scourge of terrorism.
The talks mainly focused on strengthening India-Nepal relations, which had been strained over the issue of promulgation of the new constitution. The new constitution is still a source of resentfulness among the people of Nepal, who mounted a 5-month border blockade that ended earlier this year.
The message was that the Indian experience showed that an inclusive constitution that carried all sections of the people, where all stakeholders felt that they had that their interests and views were factored in. This was this was an experience that we felt Nepal could perhaps look at, and we were very fully supportive of the constitutional process that the present government is pushing.
On Thursday, the President will visit the famous Pashupatinath temple and also hold a meeting with Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dehal Prachand. Later in the day, he is scheduled to visit Janakpur district to meet Madheshi leaders. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. On to some other news now, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday said that journalism has played a great role in strengthening the Indian democracy. Now, speaking at a function in the national capital after giving away the Ramnath Goenka Excellence in Journalism Awards organised by the Indian Express, he said that earlier people with a certain training and qualification came to journalism, but today anybody with a mobile phone can click a picture and upload it. The Prime Minister also talked about the importance of newspapers during the freedom struggle. Now, referring to the emergency, the Prime Minister said that there were few in the media like Ramnath Goenka, the founder of the Indian Express Group. The Prime Minister said at present credibility is the biggest challenge for the media in the age of technology, and it is important for media establishments to maintain it. He also exhorted all the institutions to work together to take the country to newer heights, as government of the day alone cannot do it.
इस देश का आजादी का कोई आंदोलनकार ऐसा नहीं था जो किसी न किसी अखबार से जुड़ा हुआ न हो, और हर किसी को लगता था कि अंग्रेज सल्तनत के खिलाफ लड़ना है तो मेरे पास ये भी एक साधन है, और वो लड़ते थे। लोकतंत्र को मजबूत बनाने में, लोकतंत्र सही दिशा में चले, उसके लिए भारत की पत्रकारिता की अहम भूमिका रही है। बहुत कम बिरले निकले थे, बहुत कम, जिन्होंने आपातकाल को चुनौती देने का रास्ता चुना था, और उसका नेतृत्व रामनाथ गोयनका जी ने किया था, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस ने किया था, और बेफिक्र होकर के किया। कुछ पढ़ाई लिखाई करके आए हुए लोग, किसी व्यवस्था में जुड़े हुए लोग, आज कुछ नहीं साहब, गांव का आदमी भी उसको ठीक लगा फोटो निकाल देता है, डाल देता है। और इसके कारण लोगों के पास खबरें बहुत हो गई है, और इस स्थिति में credibility ये बहुत बड़ी बात बन गई है।
And now a look at the events that are slated for the day in the day ahead. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 3-day Asian Ministerial Conference for Disaster Risk Reduction at Vigyan Bhavan in the national capital. 61 countries from Asia and Pacific region with nearly 400 delegates, including 1,100 foreign representatives, are participating in the conference. Ministers will meet to share their best practices in handling various calamities and discuss how to deal with future emergencies together. The conference aims to set the direction for the implementation of a Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction in the Asia-Pacific region. In Uttar Pradesh, Samajwadi Party Supremo Mulayam Singh Yadav has flagged off Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav's Vikas Rath Yatra today. Now, Shivpal Yadav is also present at the event, sending out a message of unity in the ruling party. The Yatra would traverse from Lucknow to Unnao, and Akhilesh would address small public meetings along the route. The Yatra will blow the party's poll bugle for the 2017 assembly polls. The 3-day international meeting on participatory local budgeting and decentralization of BRICS nations will begin in Kochi today. Representatives from BRICS nations, that is Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa and India, will attend the meet, which will be inaugurated by Union Minister for Rural Development, Drinking Water, Sanitation and Panchayati Raj, Narendra Singh Tomar. Well, we'll take a very short break. More news on the other side. Stay with us.
Cassava is planted at a spacing of 90 centimeter apart. This miniset material that we developed, we have given a smaller spacing or a closer spacing. Small scale farmer who doesn't have a large acreage. This is an ideal way of cultivation, and most of the technologies that we developed is actually benefiting them.
Watch Eureka with Dr. James George, Director, ICAR Central Tuber Crops Research Institute, Thiruvananthapuram, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Now, 3 days after Diwali, the national capital continues to be under a thick blanket of smog, leading to poor visibility conditions. Now, today, Delhiites woke up to grey skies as a heavy smog hung over the city. The air quality continued to be in severe category, despite experts predicting that it would improve to very poor. The thick blanket of smog engulfing the entire region is not only wreaking havoc on the health of the residents, but it has also disrupted road and rail traffic. A large number of long route trains are running late by several hours due to speed regulations necessitated by poor visibility, especially during early and late hours. Now, pollution peaks in the national capital during Diwali as the hazardous mixtures of noxious gases and respirable pollutants hang very close to the surface due to low temperature and near stagnant wind movement. More news from the national capital. Well, in fresh trouble for ruling Aam Aadmi Party, the Election Commission on Wednesday issued a show-cause notice to its 27 MLAs. Well, the petition filed in June and forwarded to the Commission last month had sought cancellation of the membership of 27 AAP MLAs over the issue of Office of Profit. Now, the 27 MLAs include 7 legislators against whom the Election Commission is already considering a similar plea for holding the office of Parliamentary Secretaries. The list also includes Delhi Assembly Speaker Ram Nivas Goyal, his deputy Rakhi Birla, former Deputy Speaker Bandana Kumari, and estranged AAP MLA and Swaraj Abhiyan leader Pankaj Pushkar. Now, the MLAs have been asked to file their responses by 11th of November. The petitioner has claimed that these MLAs hold posts of chairpersons of Rogi Kalyan Samitis of different government hospitals in the national capital without any sanctity of law. And more news from across the country. Here is the nationwide. As the probe into the IED blast near a court complex at Malappuram in Kerala began, police on Wednesday seized a pen drive from the site which has information as well as photographs of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, some union ministers and BJP leaders. It also revealed that the group had planned more of such attacks in the country. Now, pamphlets recovered from the site stated that the murder of Mohammad Akhla, who was lynched by a mob in Uttar Pradesh's Dadri for consuming beef, would be avenged. Now, a photograph of Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was also recovered from the spot. NIA and state police are involved in the investigations. 5 fishermen from Tamil Nadu arrested by Sri Lankan Navy on 5th of October on the charge of fishing in Sri Lankan waters have been set free by a court in the island nation on Wednesday. Now, some other fishermen were also expected to release in a day or two. The releases of 5 fishermen coincided with the talks between Fishermen Associations of India and Sri Lanka in New Delhi yesterday on the vexed issue of fishing rights in Park Strait. In Madhya Pradesh, former DGP Nandan Dubey has begun a probe into the incident of jailbreak by 8 Simi activists in Bhopal. Now, he has been appointed as the investigation officer by the state government. Remember, 8 Simi activists escaped from the central jail on Sunday night and they were later killed in an encounter by the police. Dubey will investigate reasons for jailbreak, security standards and their implementation, and responsibility of jail officers in the jailbreak incident. All right, and now let's get to some international news. And US President Barack Obama has urged Democrats of all ethnic backgrounds to get out and vote for Hillary Clinton, warning that the fate of the US Republic and the world is at stake. Well, at a rally in North Carolina, Obama said that Donald Trump was a threat to hard-earned civil rights, the country and the world. The rally comes at a time when the latest polls show that Trump had gathered a slender lead over Hillary Clinton after news emerged that the FBI was investigating a new tranche of her emails. Now, FBI Director James Comey has faced a fierce backlash for announcing the move just 11 days before the presidential election. Earlier, Obama also implicitly criticized him over the new inquiry into Clinton's email use. In an interview, Obama said that U.S. investigations should not operate on the basis of innuendo or incomplete information. Meanwhile, Trump has said that Obama should stop campaigning for Hillary Clinton and focus on running the country.
Well, you know, I've made a very deliberate effort to make sure that I don't look like I'm meddling in what are supposed to be independent processes for making these assessments. Setting aside the particulars of this case, I know that she is somebody who has always looked out for the interests of America and the American people first. And I do think that there is a norm that, you know, when there are investigations, we don't operate on innuendo, we don't operate on incomplete information, we don't operate on leaks.
And now news from the Iraqi city of Mosul, where hundreds of families are fleeing heavy fighting as the battle to recapture the last major city in Iraq held by Islamic State enters a new phase. Now, government troops on Tuesday entered the outskirts of the city for the first time since it was captured by the Islamic State in 2014. The eastern suburbs of Islamic State-held Mosul are in sight, but the Iraqi forces trying to liberate the city are still struggling. Islamic State snipers, relentless gunfire and mortar shelling are still keeping the troops from penetrating the city's borders. Now, the Shiite paramilitary groups are also pushing south of Mosul, taking at least 9 villages there. Meanwhile, Amnesty International has expressed concern, saying that militias involved in driving IS out of Mosul have been carrying out revenge attacks on men in nearby villages. The group says that people suspected of having ties to Islamic State have been publicly humiliated, tortured and beaten. About 21,000 people have been displaced since the start of the campaign. Some have fled to a camp for internally displaced people east of Mosul, but they are facing lack of basic facilities.
تشوفونها احنا يعني قدرنا دبرنا لهم خيامات والدواشق والبطانيات والاكل دبرنا لهم بس هم يحتاج مساعدات اكثر لان كم يبقون المساعدات يكون اكثر
لازم يعني يجيبوا لنا بطانيات لان عندنا اطفال قماصل ملابس لنا لان احنا طلعنا ما عندنا كل شيء ما عندنا طلعنا بالدشداشه كل شيء ما لابس هسه عاني مت من البرد الصبح ما عندي لا قمصله كل شيء ما عندي وجهالي ما عندهم شوف ما عندنا كل شيء ما عندنا.
Well, let's get you some more international news. Here is the world wrap. Police in the U.S. state of Iowa have arrested the suspect, Scott Green, in the killing of 2 police officers. The first officer was found shot in Urbandale in the afternoon on Wednesday. The second was found 20 minutes later, several blocks away. Now, police officers were sitting in their patrol cars when they were attacked. The motive for the attacks is unclear at the moment. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton has said that the killings were horrifying, heartbreaking, and were totally unacceptable. Kenya has expressed a shock at the decision of the UN Secretary General to sack the Kenyan commander of the UN peacekeeping force in South Sudan. Now, Ban Ki-moon dismissed Lieutenant General Johnson on Diki after a report said that the peacekeepers failed to protect the civilians when soldiers attacked an aid compound in the capital, Juba. Now, Kenya condemned the decision as unfair and said it would withdraw its troops from the UN mission in South Sudan. Russia on Wednesday announced a new humanitarian pause in fighting in Syrian city of Aleppo. The ceasefire measure ordered by President Vladimir Putin will take place between 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time on Friday. And the ceasefire aims to avoid casualties and to facilitate the evacuation of civilians and armed groups in the city. The Russian Center for Reconciliation and the Syrian government troops would ensure the safety of the evacuation. China's capital city, Beijing, one of the world's most polluted metropolis, has removed 3.4 lakh aging, high-emission vehicles from roads this year. The move will help annually reduce 40,000 tons of pollutant emissions from the atmosphere. Now, Beijing has come up with a scheme to encourage elimination of old vehicles, wherein an owner of a 10-year-old car who discards it can get a government subsidy of about $1,200 US. Well, that's all in this edition of news. Thanks for watching.